Welcome, CBD and Natural Products Show over in London. Wish I could be there. And looking forward to get over to the other side of the pond pretty soon and wishing you guys all the best. So before I introduce myself, I want to ask you guys a question. All right, let me go ahead and share my screen. Let's see. Here we go. Cool. All right. If you could take two of these M&Ms randomly, and you knew that two of them were chocolatey with the candy coating, two were placebos, didn't taste like anything, not going to hurt you, and two are poison, which two would you choose? I'm guessing you'd probably take none of them because you just don't know, right? So let's take a look at a recent study for 47 different CBD products. And out of those 47 products, can you imagine that almost 50% of them had either significantly less or significantly more what was on the label? Let's take a quick look at that, which is almost 10%. 5 of them had 0 to almost 10% CBD in them. Pretty crazy. 5 had significantly less than what's on the label. 6 had less than 80% of what's on the label. And 7 had more than 120% of what was prescribed. This doesn't even get into the quality of the hemp, testing for things like heavy metals or pesticides or other quality that may impact us. So what's the problem, right? The problem is knowing product provenance, that consumers and retailers know exactly what is inside these bottles. Does it match what's on the label? And how to track and trace data immutability, right? So this isn't just a challenge for we, the consumer. It's also a challenge for the whole industry, because if consumers don't trust what's in the CBD, they're not going to buy any of them. My name is Joe Witte. I'm the Vice President of Ecosystems and Partnerships at TagOne. And I've been an entrepreneur with early stage companies for close to 20 years now, which is a little bit scary. I was also in the military, handled logistics there, and served in Iraq a long time ago. And I also serve on several boards. It's excited to be here today. And my company, TagOne, we are a traceability management system. We help track and trace natural product and CBD ingredients from seed to sale, helping your life a little bit easier. So the big question is, how will they know, right? How will consumers know it's in your product? How will they know that it's safe? This is what we're going to talk about. So the first question is, who is they? When I say, how will they know? It's not just consumers. It's regulators, retailers, wholesalers. And you're, of course, over here in the US, we've got the FDA and USDA. It's your investors. It's anybody who may want to acquire you. It's even you, the executives, who want to know with confidence what is going in your bottle and doesn't match with what's being put on the label. So inherently, what does this mean for the industry? Currently, like I said, we're pretty much unable to distinguish, if you put a nice label, something that could be created in somebody's garage and sold in a gas station, or something it's put together in a GMP certified lab and sold at a reputable drugstore or convenience store or online. And so if we don't police ourselves, meaning high quality companies aren't doing the things that are right in order to make sure that they've got the proper paperwork, certificate of analysis, certifications, organic certifications, then what is that going to result in? It's going to result in more civil lawsuits, more class action lawsuits, which are negative publicity, higher insurance premiums for everybody. You get consumers who are skeptical, and then they tell other people, hey, this CBD didn't work for me. And for you guys who are working on this now, it means a whole lot of operational complexity to go with that. Trying to store all your test documentation, lot numbers, recall systems, and different systems. And that is very difficult and complex to do. So let's dive a little bit further. So as we look at the CBD and hemp supply chain, we can see that it's complex, right? We're not talking about eggs that just come out of a hen and then are packaged in a carton and brought to the store with no change. We know that it even goes back to the seed, and the different types of seed can produce different things. We have to track THC level very closely. Obviously, CBD levels, there's different levels of processing and extraction that can go through this, and people have different methods and unique methods and different additives. So when it's this complex, there's a lot of data being changed from ultimately hands between all the different parties. And these parties could be your suppliers or buyers that you want to share data with, or it could be internally if you're vertically integrated. But I'm not, of course, going to read all this to you, but you can get a sense that, man, knowing all the data that exists between the different organizations and different stakeholders here, there's a lot. And so we're starting to see different regulations on traceability here in the US. The FDA is rolling out the new era of smarter food safety that includes food traceability. We're not going to be surprised at all if and when this starts to creep into supplements and things like CBD. And some states are already requiring high levels of traceability. So just remember, what's our big question, right? How will they know? So we can use things like blockchain and traceability management systems in order to capture accurately and confirm and share this data. And just to add to that, do consumers care about this? Do they buy it? Well, in fact, the surveys would say definitively yes. 94% of surveys responded that it's important that brands and manufacturers are transparent about what's in their food and how it's made. That they care about getting a full list of ingredients and where it comes from. That they don't necessarily trust food labels, and that they would value having more information for their products. And of course, this fits into not just what consumers are saying, but what are challenges that we face in order to give this to consumers? There's a lot of documentation, right? Whether it's internal and you're getting a lot of different C of A tests, or you're collecting them, testing, getting different types of tests, having different certifications, making sure those don't expire. Then you get into the billing and financial information, tracking transactions. It could be an internal blend, what went in, what came out, how does that tie to your inventory? And then as well as making sure that you're GMP compliant in this whole process. Bottom line is that it's a lot, and to use disparate and different software systems in order to manage and track that, it gets confusing. And so when we look at some of these systems, whether it's a legacy spreadsheet or old or somewhat of an outdated ERP system or an accounting system, they're not developed specifically for hemp and CBD in mind. They're not developed even for track and traceability in mind. They're developed to do what they're supposed to do, which is handle accounting or to track data and add up numbers, not to tie together different systems and documents along the way. So what can you do about this, right? Remember, how are they going to know? One way to do this is to integrate your supply chain using a traceability management system. And so ultimately what this is going to do is be able to answer certain questions about making sure your C of A's and your certifications are not expired and they're accurate. Making sure that you have approved suppliers, right? That you didn't run out of ingredient and somebody on your team said, oh, we're out of ingredient, we can't run manufacturing, we'll just order from this guy over here you've never heard of before, and then using some sort of ingredient that hasn't been approved, hasn't been tested, because you don't want to stop the line. Next thing you know, you're doing a recall for all your inventory, hundreds of thousands of dollars, and you've got a legal lawsuits on your hand. So it happens. Unfortunately, it happens a lot. So now if we look at how we can tie together all your data and documents visually, of course, using a traceability management system, theoretically from seed to sale. Now, not everybody is seed to sale. Maybe you just handle importing, or you just handle manufacturing or processing, or maybe you're even the brand, in which case you may only go what we call one up, one down, knowing exactly where it came from and where it's going. One of the beautiful things about hemp and CBD and why we like to work in the industry is it is still young. It is still a maturing industry. And typically it's not as complex as, say, some dietary supplements. And there are a lot of good players out there who are focused on the quality of the product and are open in sharing, hey, this is where I got my hemp from, and here's the tests. So going seed to sale in the hemp to CBD market is actually doable. So how can we leverage traceability management systems to collect and analyze the data, right? One, again, you have to know what role you're playing in the supply chain. Are you the grower? Are you the processor, extraction? Of course, each one of these steps needs to make sure you're capturing and sharing different information and have different roles. And of course, knowing what that data is you're going to collect. And then you have to look at your team. What's their level of expertise? What's your current process? And where do you want to go with this? How much do you see yourself growing and scaling? Are you going to have different locations? Knowing what your level of risk is in this, knowing what your budgets are, and what trends you want to help you win. And once you've determined what your needs are and what your level of risk is and what your budget is, then you can find the right technology solution and system to help you be more transparent by integrating traceability in the process. So, what's a traceability management system going to do for you? One, we talked about end-to-end traceability, knowing where something came from, knowing where it went, tracking all your transactions. Anytime something comes in, and it can be even inactive ingredients like bottles. We've heard stories about people importing bottles from, say, China, and then maybe they have lead in them, and suddenly, even though your active ingredient has been completely clean, next thing you know, that you're testing positive for lead, and you don't know why. Right. So now you can track those type of things, tying together your processing with your inventory, creating recipes or bill of ladings on there, making sure that you can pull together, hey, who is our supplier and where is this lot number, and go back and look at the documents that are associated with that all in one location. Then ultimately you get some analytics and look at trends that are able to come from this. And God forbid that you have an issue, you can run a recall instantaneously. It's a surgical recall. You know exactly who has it and what to pull back. You don't have to do an any and all recall for all of your inventory that you've already shipped out, which can sink a business for sure, unfortunately. So what does a traceability look like once it's built in? Imagine this is, the blue section here, the final product, and these are the different ingredients that went in there. You can see who your suppliers are, when the transaction took place, what the lot numbers are. You can drill down and take a look at the documentation associated with that, and you can drill back and see who their suppliers were, all the way back to the farmers for some of these. So at the end, with the click of a button, you can see where everything came from and where it went to, giving you confidence as well as giving pure confidence to your buyers, whether that's a consumer or retailer or wholesaler. So what are the steps to get to here? Do we just, when you get a traceability management system, do you just put your ID and password in and it happens magically? Of course not, unfortunately. We all wish it could happen like that. But really starts with your master data. What is master data? Imagine you've got a clean, organized list of all your suppliers in their approved locations, of all the ingredients they provide, all the alternative names, all the scientific names, and all your documentation, all your products that you may have. Some companies are small. You may only have a couple products. Some have 50, 100 different products with different ingredients, still different recipes in there. Actually organize that can take time and can be, for some companies, a little bit painful. And you always want to start with that in a spreadsheet. And then once you have that organized, then you're probably ready for a traceability management system. But it usually doesn't make sense to go pay for a traceability management system and then have to get this data organized for several months, while you're paying for that you have to do it anyway. Once you have your master data organized, the next step is you can start tracking your transactions. A transaction could be, hey, inventory just came in, and now we know the lot number, we know the amount, we know the quantity, we have that in our inventory. A transaction can also be when you're manufacturing something and you blend those products together and you're pulling from your inventory. So it can be an internal transaction as well as external. And of course, shipping and sharing that with your buyers. The next step, phase 3, which is how do you expand your network? How do you go beyond one up, one down in your network? And the way we can do it, on our system, is you can not only have your suppliers log in to the system, but they can share their data directly, but they can invite their suppliers to log in directly. So now you're developed the network approach where that's where you can get to that traceability map that we showed you before. And then the next step, which is leverage it. If you're going to put all this hard work in to do the right thing, now you can have a story to tell and sell, which is, hey, we do things the right way. We're a transparent company. We've got full traceability. Trust us. And we've got a good technology behind it, to engage and empower the world. So on that side, how can you share things? So something we've developed, which is how to use QR codes. Here in the States, there are 6 states right now that require QR codes on labels. Pretty big states, some of these. And if there's 6, you might as well put it on all of your products. Creating QR codes can be a bit cumbersome and often limiting with just a standard system. So if you can leverage your QR code to show the traceability, to show your certificate of analysis, to show videos and photos of your product, because you've put in all this hard work for your traceability and your transparency initiatives, do it. It's going to help you out at the end of the day. So, kind of a quick summary. What is the cost of supply chain transparency? Like, how does it ultimately help you? Certainly with productivity. Having a system that's cloud-based that everybody can tap into and share data quickly, making sure that you guys are on the same system. Make sure as you bring in a new person that their SOPs are being followed is absolutely critical. And it's one of those things that it may take you a little bit to get up and running on the system, but once you're up and running on the system, you're going to move a heck of a lot faster. Managing your suppliers, making sure that they're doing the right thing and you can track that inventory and you can do tests and analyze which of your suppliers are getting things on time and right, and which ones aren't, who to invest in more and who to invest in less, as well as tying all your transactions with your inventory in one centralized system. We also look at risk. What does that mean? Nobody wants to knock on the door for an audit that takes 3 days when it could theoretically take a couple hours. That's lost productivity. And of course, along that way, nobody wants to get fined. Nobody wants to get shut down. Nobody wants to get the warning letters that can cause that. That can lead to, of course, recalls and returns. That can lead to insurance premiums that are skyrocketing. When you do things the right way, now you got a story to tell and sell. Everything, of course, all fits and connects together. And for you CEOs out there saying, yeah, this is great, but this is something I'll just talk to my director of ops about, keep in mind, you're building a company and your company is based on valuation. And valuation is built on good process, good systems, good stories, and agility. How can you differentiate yourself as you start to grow your company? So real quick, some takeaways from all this. Ultimately, guys, we're at a crossroads, right? We've got good companies. We've got companies that are intentionally not doing things the right way. Most of us are trying to figure things out. So trying to do things the right way, get the right systems in place, get the right process in place, good things will happen. Having, of course, being GMP certified, having tech traceability, they're critical to your infrastructure. Start today, start with the basics with things like your master data, getting good process down, getting consultants down. These are things that we can help with too. And then once you get your SOPs and process down, get technology to support that and to streamline that process. And then ultimately, this is not just going to help you. This really helps the whole CBD industry. So now you built this in. Now they know. Now they know your product is safe. Now they know the ingredients match the label. Now they know your claims are valid. And now they know where it came from. And now they know they can trust you. So if you'd like to learn more, you want a demo of our system, have questions for me, reach out. My email is down below. Of course, there's a US-based number on the lower left. You can reach me directly. Visit our website at www.tagone.com, and we'll be happy to help you. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. Thank you for your support, and we look forward to helping you any way we can. Have a great day, everybody.